Greetings traders, this is Houston Trung from thetradingedge.org, and here is your market watch for October the 4th to the 8th, 2021. Long time no speak, it's been a couple months since I dropped one of these videos, so let's begin with where I've been the last couple months. Well, if you've been watching these videos, you'll know that I've been spending more and more time focusing on the crypto space, and I finally made that choice a couple months ago that it was time to move completely over to cryptos. So it really made the most sense. If you see where the ball's going, you gotta, or where the puck's going. If you're Canadian, then you really gotta skate to the puck. And that was my decision a couple months ago that I was going to go completely towards cryptos. And so for the past couple of months, I've been really using all my focus to retool, to transition all my processes, all my strategies, all my focus onto the crypto space. All the smart money, all the big money's heading over to cryptos now, and that's and without a doubt, I think that's where the ball is going. And so I made that transition over, and I just wish I'd done it sooner, because it's been a fantastic year for trading cryptos, even this past couple months, as I've had most of my focus on that space now. So this video will be, or this iteration of these videos, the market watch video, will be coming out on a less and less frequent basis. I'll probably do one of these videos maybe once every quarter to talk about the sort of the equity space. But now that my focus is more on cryptos, this video series is probably going to slowly disappear, and maybe I'll come up with some other content around cryptos later on in the future. But I still like to keep my eyes on the cryptos market, the equities market, because the macro stuff definitely affects the crypto market, especially Bitcoin and Ethereum. So it's important to still keep, even if you're a crypto trader, it's still important to have an understanding of what's going on in the equity space and what's going on in the macro space, because they do bleed on each other more and more so. Because even though people talk about the non-correlations between the crypto space and the equity space, the reality is that as the crypto space becomes more institutionalized, you're going to have the holders of these assets are going to be more and more institutionalized, and that means you're going to have more folks holding both asset classes. And ultimately, when you have events that force people to liquidate their holdings, you're going to see sell-offs in both the equity space and the crypto space, and that's where we're going to see these increased correlations as the holders of these assets become more correlated or become similar. So that being said, what I'll do today is I want to kind of focus, I'm going to give you a sneak peek on, not sneak peek, but I'm going to give you a dive into kind of the cryptos that I'm looking at, give you some ideas around that. If you're interested in the crypto space, I'll spend a bit of time in the beginning talking about cryptos, and then in the back half of the video, I'll go through our usual equity analysis and go through the major markets and take a look in terms of the bigger time frames, because we've entered into the final trading quarter of the year. Can you believe it? It's already October, and we'll look at those bigger time frame charts to kind of chart off where we think we're going to go for the rest of the year. All right. So that being said, with all those formalities out of the way, let's jump into the charts. And let's jump into this week's market watch. So let's begin in a different way today. So we used to always begin with the equities, but as I mentioned already, let's jump into cryptos first, and let's talk about the big daddy, Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, where are we going? So here's the issue with Bitcoin and Ethereum and the like. And Bitcoin here has had a very, very interesting run here, and even though we had these big pullbacks back in July, back in September, the fact is that I've been posting, or the folks who know the my what I post in my Slack channel, I've just been saying it's inside quarter. Last quarter's inside quarter is likely going to stay inside quarter, and it looked like it was going to we had a sell-off that took it all the way down to here, right? But it stayed inside quarter, and once that low held, it was likely that we're going to pop back into the middle of the range again and just close it off inside quarter, and that's what we did. So now Q4 is historically very, very strong for Bitcoin. So here's a chance now for Bitcoin to do something spectacular. That is to take out the inside bar here, the prior inside bar, and perhaps do an inside bar up. The issue with this type of setup here is that, yes, it's very strong right now, and you can see that a break above there would trigger an inside bar up scenario. The only issue here now is that we're high in the Bollinger Bands. So if we do break above this level here, 52.88, maybe we get to all-time highs again. But this is a move ultimately that I'll be looking at selling into. So my long-term holdings, I have to decide what I want to do with that. Maybe, you know, in this cycle, maybe we hit, I would be surprised if we don't hit an all-time high this coming quarter. If we don't, that's very bearish. That's very, you know, that would be unexpected. That's not, I wouldn't say it's very bearish, but that's what the expectation is. So certainly you'd have to expect to have a pullback there if you don't get those all-time highs. So you're watching that level, and ultimately maybe it's end of Q4, maybe it's early Q1 of next year. You know, if we're up here, I'd be looking to sell into this rally, as you're going to be deep in the Bollinger Band highs here on the quarterly chart, and I'd be looking for an exit. Something like what happened here back in April, right? So you have a situation here when let's say you break above this prior bar, right, and all of a sudden you fade back in. There's your exit. You do not want to hold this bag if it comes back into here again and it fades back in. Or if this is, let's say you pop up here somehow, right, where you crack the 60K area, and then in Q1 you crack higher, maybe get to 80K, and you fall back into 70K. That's your exit. That's your time to get out. We'll have a lot of time to talk about this, but that's my bigger thinking. You know, my larger time frame thinking is if we do crack all-time highs, I'd be looking to get out at the end of Q4, early Q1, if that happens. That's one of the possible outcomes there. So monthly chart, what are we looking at here now? Well, look, here we had that big selling bar back in May, right? So this is May, June, July. July it bottomed really, or actually bottomed in June, and then we did not get a lower low in July. So we actually had did we get a lower low here? Low of 29,313. We did not. It's 247. Yeah, 29,247. So this is the low that was created in June, excuse me. In July, we've had nothing but up months since. So we had a down month in May, June, and then an up month in July. It's July, August, September. So we've had 3 consecutive months of higher highs. Currently, October, inside month so far, but looking like we're gonna take out the quarterly high. That'll be inside bar up on the quarterly chart. So on the weekly chart, this is what we're looking like, and it really looks like we're gonna take out that quarterly high. Why? Because we've got an inside bar reversal playing out right now. Inside bar down. We did the inside bar reversal. Now we're going after that pivot right there, and that will trigger the 3-month inside bar and up. So but Bitcoin's been a little tricky to trade, and you know, if you're trying to catch bottoms, you've had to take a few swings at it. But there's been a few chances here to grab the bottom. So for instance, here you could try to grab this bottom here on that blue level right here. When the price action came back into the range again, you put your stop below there. That thing held by just a few ticks actually. The low here was 47.55. Look, it will not crack 40K, right? There's buyers stepping up here, and we got as low as 48.04. So that low here on the 24th held, and ever since then it's been moving higher. Well, once this low held here, and so at this point here now we're going after that 52.88 pivot that will trigger the quarterly chart, and then let's see where we go from there. So at this point here, Bitcoin, I think looking very strong. Let's see where we go once we crack that 3-month pattern here, that inside bar. Right, we are going to Bollinger Band highs now. That's the issue, and that's what you got to be watchful for. But here's an interesting little setup here, right? So here, you know, I've been saying that let's go back here. The bull market in Bitcoin and Ethereum really is not over until you get a break below a quarterly low, and so we have not had a break below a quarterly low since here January of 2020. All right, so I'm pulling it back now. You can see this here, that outside inside, one of our favorite patterns, right? That thing broke, and we have not seen a lower low since. Okay, so it came very close here, right? This is 313, 29,313. It's 29,247. It came within like, you know, less than $70 of breaking below Q1's range there. Sorry, that's Q2's range. So it came very close, but did not. So the bull market's still intact. So until you can break below the prior quarter's range, so 29,313, we are still in a bull market. This is why I think it's possible here now that, you know, we pop up here and then maybe Q1 we break below that bull market range. Although, like I said before, because we're going to Bollinger Band highs, I'll be looking to get out earlier and not waiting for that full pullback, even though I may leave some on the table there. All right, but okay, let's go to Ethereum now, and you know, you'll see here that Ethereum, just like Bitcoin, you will never see a better, you know, risk to reward entry than what we saw here back in Q2 of 2020. And I called this out. If you go back to the videos and look at that time frame, we saw the outside inside on the quarterly, and it has been gangbuster since, right? Outside inside, and it's been gone. You see that? And look, have we had a lower low on the quarterly chart? No, it came very close. And while everyone was calling for us a bear market when we had that kind of big sell-off back in July, May, June, July, because of the China ban, the banning of Bitcoin miners in China, the reality is that low is actually higher than that low. The low here was 1711. We got as low as 1721. So did it come close to breaking that bull market? Yes, very close. The beauty is that we're using objective price action here, right? So I'm not, we're not trying to call bull markets based upon the percentage pullbacks. We're just looking at the pure price action on a higher time frame and seeing and objectively, relating it to that. So the bull market, in my opinion, will be over once you break below a prior quarter's low. Market there. Okay, so right now, this just like in Bitcoin, inside bar. So expect this inside bar to get broken, but just like Bitcoin, it's deep in the Bollinger Bands. So this is going to do the Bollinger Band walk if you break up here, and you do not want to see that Bollinger Band walk break. And I'll be looking to get out early on my ETH holdings. If we get to all-time highs, crack all-time highs, and then come back on the range again, I don't want to be holding on there, because then you're going to get a deeper pullback, especially if the move starts going parabolic. As we've seen before, when the move goes parabolic, you don't wait for a full reversal. You get out, otherwise you're going to hold through a very, very deep pullback. So like what happened here, right? We had a huge parabolic move in Ethereum, deep in the Bollinger Bands, and you don't want to necessarily wait for this to come all the way back against you here, because then you leave a lot of money on the table. So if we do go parabolic again, we break above here, we go to all-time highs, and it goes parabolic, you want to be looking to get out on retrace back into price action and not holding for a full reversal, especially if you're sitting on good gains. It's so easy to get back into these markets. The liquidity is very deep nowadays. You don't have to worry about about getting back in again. It's very, very easy to get back in, especially if you know what you're doing, and if you've been watching these videos, you understand the price action and you sort of know what you're doing. So right now, inside month, lots of time left. We've had now 4 consecutive months of higher highs. Is that 4? Sorry, excuse me. 2. So here we had an inside bar, up, and then we have an inside bar right now. So let's see how we break out of that. So with Ethereum, actually, yeah, let me just go back to Bitcoin really quickly here, because that pullback that we saw, last quarter was fairly muted. People were, were all scared about this. But look, if I just draw my Fibonacci grids from the low here of July to the high we had in September, that small pullback we had in September, look, it went back to the 50%. Actually, let's draw it the other way. It makes more sense. It went right back down to the 50% retracement. Okay, so right there, the buyers then stepped up and triggered this inside buy reversal back to the upside again. And now it looks like we're going to go back to those July highs. So back to ETH, very similar pattern. We do have the inside buy reversal on the weekly chart, and looks like we're going to take out, so this is the inside buy reversal right there. Looks like we're going to go after that pivot right there now, and then question is, can you break out above the prior quarter's highs and trigger that inside bar up situation? Okay, so Ethereum, just like Bitcoin, also had that pullback in September, and same thing, it pulled back to around the 50% area. Buyer stepped up, and look, the average monthly ranges, that's these bands here, they got tested, they held. Buyer stepped up here now, and we're going after that pivot there. Okay, and ultimately that red line, that will trigger the inside quarter and up, and then we really want to see where it goes from there. So Ethereum, Bitcoin, always good to watch, but there's a lot of other cryptos worth watching nowadays. So I personally trade on Binance. There are, I think, 122 perpetual futures contracts you can trade on there. So plenty of stuff to trade on Binance. If you want to trade coins, then there's many places you can trade. But if you want to get sort of acclimated with the cryptos market, one site I really like is CoinGecko.com. So CoinGecko.com, and they actually have a fairly new tab here called the Categories tab. And if you click on the Categories tab, you can now see now that they've now categorized all the different token projects by their different categories. So based upon kind of what sectors they're in. And if you're going to trade cryptos, it's worth investing a bit of time into understanding each one of the coins that are inside these different categories. So one category that's doing very, very well lately is, let's say, the like the metaverse category. So if I go down here to metaverse, or even the gaming category, that's kind of the same thing. So you go to the gaming category, you can see some of the names that may be familiar if you know them or not. But things like Axie Infinity, Engine, Gala. I'll talk more about these in a few moments here. But it's worth actually digging into some of these coins here. Maybe read the read the website, read the white paper. Log into the Discord and see what they're doing, so you understand, and if you have more time, you begin to investigate the actual games themselves and see just how good they are. And you can do the same with all these projects, right? Whether it's metaverse or gaming stuff, to the DeFi exchanges, you can click on the DeFi categorizations and try some of these exchanges, some of these dexes. So things like Uniswap and Pancake Swap and so forth. You can actually go off and try some of these, log into the Discords and see what the communities are like. So that's how I would go about, that's what I've been doing personally to get familiar with all these different projects, is to actually literally go out, check out the websites, log into them, try them out, spend some tokens on them, join the Discords, check out the communities and see how vibrant or not vibrant they are, so you understand what you're trading. So definitely that's the time, that's how I would invest my time to get ramped up into cryptos. And once you do that, then you can apply the price action to it like we always do. So it's going back to our charts here now. So now that we know about ETH, what other coins am I looking at? Well, for Q4, there are probably I'd probably invest a lot of my time looking at the Ethereum, quote unquote Ethereum killers. So things like Avax. So let me let's bring up the monthly chart here. Things like Avax, which is Avalanche. So Avax, it's doing really good. Look at these charts. Like you still see charts like this in the. It's hard to find these such powerful charts in the quote unquote kind of traditional finance space. You'd have to really go after these penny stocks. But man, Avax has been phenomenal. Look at, we had a 70% move here in September, a 200% move here in August. So beautiful move on Avax, maybe more potential there. Things like Solana, looking at Solana as well. So Solana, again, these are all worth putting on your watch list to either swing trade, or there's always these opportunities intraday as well. Look at the move on Solana. We've had a 200% move there in August, by another 30% move there, and another 25% move there. So Solana's been doing amazing. Polkadot, so DOT, USDT. I like trading the perpetual futures, so perps. So there you go. Solana, another very interesting project. And this project here, look, the potential to go back to all-time highs there, inside month so far. So maybe a move here back to all-time highs. Watch that project. And at Cardano, I'm not a big fan of the project itself, but I think that there's enough people, enough volume trading that now that it's worth looking at, and so I do trade it. But I'm not a big fan of the project itself, but I do trade it. But I do take this name like I do trade it like a trader. I'm not invested in it because I don't believe in the project as much as the other ones. So very, very clean stuff here. Double inside month followed by a big pop. Now inside month again. We get back to all-time highs. These are all names worth putting on your watch list. Then the dexes, the common stuff like Uniswap, SushiSwap, those are names I would put on my watch list as well. And then I'd spend a lot of time this quarter looking at the gaming space, or the metaverse space in the crypto markets. Those things are on fire right now. People really see now that NFTs and gaming, and the metaverse story is a very, very powerful combination. So something that I've been trading a lot is Axie. I brought this up a few months back. Being one of my best trades of the year was Axie Infinity. Let me see if I can bring up Axie. Where am I? Axie, USDT. Okay, let me see here. What am I typing in here? What am I typing in wrong here? Axie, sorry, I put an I in there. Axie USDT perp. So Axie, we had a huge move in this last week. So Axie up a small 69% for the month of October. It's only 3 days into October, and we already had a 60% move. So Axie doing amazing. Look at the weekly chart on Axie here. Very clean stuff. Inside bar down. So inside bar reversal back to the upside again for all-time highs. That's a nice little 100% move in the span of 1, 2, 3 days. So very nice move on Axie. And here are two more gaming projects that I really, really like. And full disclosure, I do not have any stake in them yet, but definitely looking to buy these. Unfortunately, just missed the entries on some of these guys because it moved so quickly the last few days that I did miss my entries, but I'm waiting for pullbacks to add to these. So Gala is a very, very interesting gaming company. It's going to have some really, really big games, or one really, really big game coming out, which I think is going to be worth checking out. Multi MMO type of game, so definitely want to keep an eye on this one. When this game finally drops. So and that's the monthly chart. Weekly chart, nothing too special right now. It's only this coin only dropped on The perp futures contract only dropped a few weeks ago, but this is definitely one that could go a long way. So this could be a multi-bagger right now, only trading at 11 cents. So waiting for my entry to get into this one to see this thing really go. And the other one I want to be looking at is Atlas. So this one here, Atlas perp, is Star Atlas. This is a game that's coming out shortly, and it hasn't launched yet, but it's coming out soon. And this one again, also trading around the 11-cent area. And this is going to be, I think, going to be a very, very big game. A lot of eyeballs, a lot of big investors on this one. It's going to be worth keeping on your watch list. One more project to just to highlight, and that is Audius. So here is kind of a blockchain Spotify competitor. Maybe the only difference is that it's also a NFT play. So a very interesting space there. So you have NFTs, you got music, and then you got blockchain, and it being a Spotify competitor. Here's one now that has come off of all-time highs and could be something very, very interesting now going into the month of October and into Q4. Audius definitely on my watch list as something worth trading and something worth holding for a longer time frame. All right, so those are the names that I'm looking at for Q4, and there's always new names that are popping up in the crypto space. So you just have to be, kind of be in the world and immersed in it. But those are definitely names that are on my always look at watch list, and something I'll be trading regularly. All right, so I hope that helped. For the rest of the video now, we've gone about 20 minutes. So the rest of the video, I'm going to go back to the equities markets, the traditional macro markets, and we'll finish off our this video with that focus. So let's go to VIX now, and let's see. Now we'll contrast the the crazy digital assets world with the traditional traditional equities assets, and let's focus on the stock market for the rest of our time here. So what do we see with the stock market? Well, right now the VIX, it's still trading at fairly muted levels. We're right back on the range again. We've definitely gotten away from the boring lows that we had back in July during the summer months. I guess everyone in the summer was either trading cryptos or the equities guys were back in the Hamptons because it was a pretty dead summer, right? The markets just steady bled higher, and the VIX had basically just hit these fairly low levels of, I think it was mid 16s was the low. So that's pretty muted, and so we had a big pop here in September, relatively speaking, up 20%, and now we're back to inside month again. So what do you go from here for if you're VIX, right? So right now it is a inside quarter for the VIX. So which way does this thing break? That's going to be the question, right? So which side of this range does the VIX break? So for now, let's look at the weekly chart. We did hit the top end here of this. I've had this long trend line drawn for a long time now. We hit that top and we faded back in again. This is what I'd be looking for with the VIX. If we break above this upper AMR, so that's the average monthly range, this band here, if we break above there, that means we break above there and stay above there, then watch out. When that does happen, that's very uncommon. Right, so the last time that happened, we broke above it and stayed above it, was way back here, Feb 2020. All right, so if you can break above and stay above there, that's range expansion time, and that's when you really have to watch out, because that's basically it's a sell off in equities. Otherwise, if you just hit that upper AMR and you come back in, you fade back in, then basically all those folks who are buying VIX as insurance, basically insurance is going to erode, right? So it's just basically going to be it's going to fade away. So that's right now what it's looking like here, is that we hit that upper end and there wasn't additional panic, so we fell back into the range again. And the question now is that, can we spike up again this month and get above that AMR? And if we do, maybe we pop up back in the 60s again. Otherwise, if we break back below here, we're going back, and it's going to be Sleepyville to the end of the year. And maybe that would be a rally in equities. Okay, so that's what I'd be looking at here, is to see if we stay or not above that AMR. If you do break above, this AMR, and then you break above, this week's price action there, that would be very, very bearish for equities. So the equity space, what's that look like? Let's go to our SPY chart now and see what the SPY has been doing. So quarterly chart, what do we look at with being in the final quarter of the year? Well, right now Q3 had a big shooting star, so that's a bit bearish, right? But the buyers did step up here. So if you do break below this shooting stars low right there, that is very, very bearish, right? And then you expect price action to come back in the range again. So that's what, that's a very, very clear level there. You break below here, 421.97, this shooting star low, right? Break below there, yikes, watch out. That's going to be a reversal on the quarterly chart. That doesn't happen very often, so you're looking at that to happen, and you're looking for that to break below there and trade below there. If you just tap below, you snap, you break below and you snap back up again, that's a fake breakout, okay, or breakdown. So for now though, the buyers did step up. So look at the monthly chart. It did break below, right? See what happened here? It broke below September's lows, but look, the buyers immediately stepped up. So the guys who went short, they broke as soon as they broke below September's lows, they got faded, right? So immediately it's right now it's been a false breakdown and the buyer stepped up. So it was a Momo down situation, but we're back in the prior bars range. And if you look at the weekly chart, it shows you that the buyers really stepped up here. So we had 4 consecutive lower lows. So 1, 2, 3, 4. But here, each time you can see the long shadows that are being posted, right? And in fact, this time here, we had a long shadow posted, and some folks sold this. So when it broke below the prior week's low. So if I draw the line there, it did break below that prior week's low, but immediately they did that, they bought it back again. As you can see on Friday, that's what happened, right? So on Friday, they broke below the prior week's low, but look at the way the day ended, right? So they bought it right back. So the guys who shorted this, that breakdown, they immediately they ran into buyers, and they either got stopped out or they're sitting in the red right now. Now on Monday, this is what you want to watch for this coming week is we do have now, with the new month, with the new week and the new quarter, we have the important milestones around those opens. So now this coming week, the next few days, especially Monday and Tuesday, you want to see how price transacts around those opening areas. So there's your quarterly open, because Friday was the quarterly open. Now on Monday, wherever we open up here, that will create our weekly and monthly open, right? So that's when you really want to be watching to see, that's not the monthly open, because the monthly and quarterly open are already there, but the weekly open, that'll open up wherever it does, and you want to see how price transacts in relation to those 3 levels: weekly, monthly, quarterly open, and that's when you're going to create your bias. If you break up here and all of a sudden come back down here, that'll be below these opening levels right there, and that's when you want to watch out, because that's going to show you that the sellers have overwhelmed the buyers. Okay, so over to Qs now. Qs, same kind of picture. So on the Qs, we have this situation here. Shooting star, right? So same kind of picture. If you see a break below last quarter's low, watch out, right? Because that means the sellers are in control, and you'll have full time from alignment to the downside. So that's something you definitely need to watch out for, is that 352.04 area. On the monthly chart, what do you got? It's Momo down, but they popped it back into the range again, just like we saw with the SPYs. So on the weekly chart, and see that they faded them. So the sellers got aggressive here, but the buyers stepped up right away. Look at that, right off of that quarterly open. It came really close, right? And they bought it right back again, right on the Friday. You see on the Friday there, they sent it downwards. The buyers stepped up, jammed it against the shorts, and the shorts either you had to cover, or you're sitting on red right now. But again, on Monday or Tuesday, when it opens up, if the sellers can somehow break below Friday's lows, well, watch out, because that's when you're going to get full time from alignment, and you would have stopped out any buyers who try to defend on Friday. Let's do the rest of the indices really quickly. Russell's actually outperforming here. This is interesting because the Russell here showing us some slight outperformance. So on the quarterly chart, it's just been a lot of chop. You can see here now, because we're just basically sitting inside of this quarter's range. So we did go inside, quarter, and down, right? But they couldn't do anything with it. They popped it right back on the range. As soon as it went back on the range, you can see that here's that wide, broad information that I've drawn, years ago. It's been going back for years now. And we basically tagged that line, right? Back in Q3. They popped it back up, back into the range, and now you're trading inside quarter. It's only been one trading day, but you're inside quarter. So now, which way does this guy break? That's going to be the question. Do you break down here and pop back into the broad information range, or do you somehow grind higher? So that's going to be the question. If you take a look at the monthly chart, very tight stuff, right? So for the past 1-2 months, we've been trading inside of this bar, inside July. That's how low in terms of the volatility it's been, because that's just pure chop, right? Chop. You can see every single bar here, starting here, Feb of 2021. So that's basically all the way back in February. That's 8 months for the Russell, has been going sideways, all right? Because you can pretty much see here it's about the same as there. It's been kind of going nowhere for the past several months now. So right now, inside bar up, inside bar for the month of October so far. Very, very early in the trading month. So question is here now, this is, it was kind of a fade, right? So they broke above, but you had time frame alignment against you here. It fell back on the range now, but can it somehow continue to go upwards? Right now it's just flat. So do we have any hints here on the weekly chart? Look at that, that's just pure chop. So Russell right now is just hanging in there, hasn't seen much of a pullback at all. Momo up, so outside bar and up, but again, you're just sitting in the range here. Not a chop, not doing a lot of nothing here. So at this point, Russell, personally, you kind of want to be trading the edges of this, right? Because in the meat of it, you're not expecting breakouts because it's just been going sideways. So anything, if you're going to be trading this stuff, you want to be looking for areas that are extreme to come back in the range again until that pattern changes. So looking for extremes to fade the price action, going back in either way until you get a significant breakout out of that monthly range that we showed already here. Otherwise, you're just kind of stuck in this little box here. Russell. All right, Dow, final index to check out here. Dow holding up, all right? So look at the Dow. So yes, we did have a red quarter there, but things are still good unless you break below last quarter's range. Okay, so right there, the low there. Let's pull up our range here. If we break below last quarter's low, then you got to watch out. Okay, so right now we look Dow outside, inside, and up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 consecutive quarters of higher highs, still an uptrend, just like the Bitcoin chart, right? We have not seen a lower low on the quarterly chart in any of these indices, right? If I go back, actually maybe we did on the Russell, but that they did pop back up again. SPY, yeah, no lower lows. Qs, no lower lows. So just like Bitcoin and Ethereum, we've not seen any lower lows on the quarterly chart, which will be the next index to create a lower low. So right now it's still fairly far away from that lower low, so we need to wait and see how that breaks. Right now, inside month, so unlike the SPY and the Qs, we did not get a lower low yet on the monthly chart. So on the weekly chart, look, you hit that lower Bollinger Band. We're always watching that, and you can see the band on the weekly chart is going sideways. Okay, it's a sideways band right now, so that means we've been consolidating for a while, right? It's just been going sideways, and maybe we get back to that upper end again, because it's not uncommon for the Bollinger Band. Once you hit the Bollinger Band low, it goes back and tags the other side. So look, we tagged the upper end. We've talked about this pattern many times. You tag the upper end of that at that Bollinger Band. So the Bollinger Band high, especially when the bands are narrowing, it's very common to hit the Bollinger Band low again. Go to this side, hit the Bollinger Band low, then we do go back and hit the Bollinger Band high. That's very, very possible. That's where we go from here. Okay, so there's your DIA. Let's talk about bonds now, because the bonds have been a very kind of mixed bag, but that's what the market's watching, and they want to see where the bonds trade. So right now, big picture, TLT, what are you doing? You had a bit of a pullback in September, in Q3, but did not do a reversal. So the bond picture right now is you have to watch out that you don't break below the prior quarter's low, because what happens if you do, it creates the inside buy reversal short. That will be significant, right? And the thing with bonds, like we've seen, this past year, is less to do. Well, what people are concerned most with especially with bonds, is the rate of change, right? So that's the big thing, because the rate of change really signals what's happening at the margin. When people start to get the pinch, it's because things are happening quickly, right? And people have to adjust their positions, and people get scared out of their trades, and that's what causes the big disturbances in the market. So you want to pay attention to that. So when these things, if this level breaks and you see things begin to collapse quickly, that's the rate of change we're talking about, and that's when the price at the margins affecting the broader markets. So right now, the inside buy reversal hasn't triggered yet, so you're going to watch that level 143.53 to see if that thing breaks. Otherwise, if this thing bleeds upwards, so right now, here's the month of September, if you can somehow break back up here and take out September's highs, that's an inside buy reversal long to the upside, and that means that should be the long that means the long growth story is back on again, and that should be good for big tech and for the equities markets. So that's the range you're looking at. Can you break above September's highs or not? You watch out. You don't take out last quarter's lows. If that happens, that's not going to. If you see bond weakness, watch out. I think you're going to see equity weakness as well. So that's the bond chart on the monthly. The weekly chart, I think we might see a bit of a maybe a multi-week bounce, both in equities and the bonds. Then the question is, where does it go from there afterwards? That'll be the big question. I would not be surprised to see equities bounce and bonds bounce for maybe 1 or 2 weeks. Look, we had a Momo down situation here, big hammer off of that that quarterly level, off of the lower band of the MR. If you do pop up here, we're not be surprised to see it pop up again. But if it comes back in a couple weeks and back down again, that's when you really have to watch out going into the mid half of October. Okay, so there's your TLT market now. If you break above this past week's highs, maybe you pop up here. If it comes out and takes out that pivot high there, then again that's very, very bullish. That creates the inside bar reversal on the monthly chart. So that's kind of the fractal pattern that I'm looking at is you're watching that weekly chart to try to see if you can get back up here to try trigger that monthly chart. And then again, you get that bullish break to the upside. That'll be good for equities, and maybe you get that that strong rally in equities going into Thanksgiving, because Thanksgiving is historically very, very strong for the equities markets. So it's just a matter of getting through the next couple of weeks, getting to the U.S. Thanksgiving. Then Turkey Day, that's usually quite strong for for equities, but that's not until November. So again, October you have a bit of stuff that you have to navigate around, but if you can get to Thanksgiving and then ultimately to December, Christmas time, if that Santa Claus rally always shows up, then usually that's very, very strong for equities. Let's go to the 10-year now, because the 10-year is worth watching. That's basically going to be the mirror opposite. And let's take a look at that 3-month chart. So the 10-year, here's what you have to watch out for. Think of the 10-year as being the basically opposite of, this is the yield. Okay, so the 10-year yield. So you do not want to see, if you are long equities, you do not want to see this thing create an inside bar reversal long to the upside. If this thing breaks above last quarter's highs, watch out. That means yields are going up, price of bonds are going down. Okay, and if you see yields going up, that means that's not going to be good for the markets, and you're also probably going to have a stronger dollar as well, which will not be good for many things. So that's the level you're looking at there, the prior quarter's high, monthly chart. Okay, right there's that pivot. It's not far away, but right now we have a bit of red. It's inside month. If you fall back on the range, that's good for equities. Weekly chart, looking like we might fall back on the range, just like the opposite of TLT there, right? So look, we did tag this upper end. We did break above that quarterly open, but sellers did step up. Could not break above and stay above the average monthly range. Now this coming week, if we break below this past week's low, there's your weekly reversal, and we fall back on the range. Maybe we get that multi-week pullback on the 10-year yield. Okay, so you can see up here on the daily chart, you can see it right there, right? So this is what we talk about all the time, that Bollinger Band walk, right? You crack above the Bollinger Band and it keeps going. That's the Bollinger Band walk. But once it gets faded, right? So here's the initial, this is the fade right here. Comes back, you get a higher high, falls back in the range, then it breaks below the prior bar's low, and there's your Bollinger Band fade. Anyone who chased this is getting stopped out now. And the question is, how far does this pullback happen? Do you break below this prior bar's low and we sink back in at that point? Okay, so that's what you want to look for. How far does this pullback go? Can we break below this past week's low? If we do, that's a Momo up reversal, and then maybe come out the other side and take out this bar's low. Okay, now let's talk about, we're talking yields. Let's talk about the US dollar, because that definitely plays into a lot of things. But the US dollar is, it's hard to trade, but they're definitely worth looking at, because you can see the temperature of the markets. So the DXY had a kind of a pop here above 90, and now we're trading at 94. So we had the inside quarter and up. So now we've had, so this is the lower low. So we've had, one bar down, inside bar, and then inside bar up. Now it's inside quarter. Okay, so we'll redraw our levels here. If we break below last quarter's lows, right, we're going to fall back into the range. So even though we've had, a fairly decent move here in Q3, a 2% move for the US dollar, we're still basically trading in a range, right? So we're still trading in this range here. Basically, we're still sitting inside of Q4 of last year. We're still trading inside this range. We have not taken out this range yet. We're still sitting inside of it. Monthly chart. Okay, so here that monthly range is this. You want to see if we break back in, and just like we saw with the bonds, DXY got a little extended here now. So now hit the upper end of that Bollinger Band. Question is, does it continue? That's going to be the question. Can you break above 94.50? That'll be very, very significant, because if you do break above there and you stay above there, that's your Bollinger Band walk on the weekly chart. You're above the AMRs, that's the average monthly range, and that will mean range expansion. We did see sellers step up here on DXY. So here, right there, you had your Bollinger Band walk. It got extended. It came back on the range out the other side now. I would not be surprised to see DXY take a bit of a breather here and pull back. The question is, do sellers, or actually do buyers step up in this area, or does it fade back in the range again and come back into the range that we had in Q3? Okay, so DXY. So counter that would be gold. So these things play very, very hand in hand. So you definitely, what happens in DXY will definitely translate to what happens in MGC. So watch these two both very carefully. Gold, what's it look like? Well, gold, it had that break lower earlier in Q3, but buyers bought it back up again, right? But we're back in the range here again. It went inside bar and down to create an inside bar down. But if we break above Q3's high, there's your inside bar reversal for gold. To mix in a bit of backstory, like what's your picture on inflation? If inflation continues to run hot as it's been doing for the past couple quarters, does it make sense? Maybe it makes sense that gold breaks above here and heads higher. That would make sense if you think that inflation is still running hot, and maybe gold catches a bid here in Q4. That level there is right there, 1837.5. You break above there, yeah, gold's going to participate in that narrative around inflation. So right now we did have the inside bar reversal to the downside that popped up here. They did fade it here back in September, so we're right in the range again. So kind of no man's land. Look, we're just stuck in this range. Gold right now doing a heck of a lot of nothing. If you're just using these wider time frame charts, you really need to see it break above this area again, 1835.90, 1837.50, that area, right? So where that red line is. Yeah, 35, 37. Because if you look at the weekly, here we saw buyer step up, right? So back in August here, we had that huge pullback. Buyer stepped up again, and they're fading it back again, right? But they stepped up again here. This past week they stepped up. The sellers got they got countered, right? So we had a shooting star followed by a hammer. And when you see shooting stars like this, right, that are happening into lows, that's not always bearish, right? Remember, I've talked about this in previous videos. You have to go back and look at it. But having shooting stars at the bottom of price action is not bearish. This is actually a momentum move to the downside, meaning it's actually getting stretched, because this is momentum, and it has to keep going. When you see this, you need to get ready for this. You see a shooting star and you get ready, you get counter with the hammer. That's very, very bullish. So now these folks who got short are either stopped out or they're in red right now. And look how quickly it happens on the daily chart. So if you're not seeing this, this is why it's so important to look at multiple time frames. This is a beautiful setup, right? Because if you're looking at this, okay, that looks bearish. This looks like it's momentum based. Okay, this is the shooting star that's momentum based, because it's taking place in a downtrend. It's different when a shooting star happens on the upper ends. Okay, that's a reversal signal. This is actually a momentum move. So when it breaks down this past week, it's momentum to the downside. But when buyers step up, as soon as you can reclaim the prior bar's low, you come back in the range again. And look what happens on the daily chart. I believe it happened on Friday, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Thursday, excuse me. So here's your Wednesday, right? So here's your Tuesday. Wednesday, they sell it off, and looks like everything is going badly for gold. So on Thursday, it looks like it's just going to continue. But as soon as it pops back in the prior week's range, that's it for that move. And we had a huge amount of short covering on the 30th, on Thursday. So Friday, kind of a do nothing day. But expect this thing to move up a little bit more now, to get some more short covering on gold. So keep your eye on gold. Let's see if it joins the party with Bitcoin and the other crypto names. All right, so a couple more charts just to wrap things, and then we'll wrap things up. We talked about Qs already, but the one chart I do want to show that's sort of out of whack is Cathie Wood's ARKK. Okay, so this one here has been getting hammered. So if you look at the quarterly chart, inside quarter. So and they did break below the prior quarter's range. that's a little bit disconcerting here, because you did have the shooting star. That's bearish, right? Going into highs. It got countered with a hammer, so that's quite bullish because they try to break it down, but the buyers basically defended here where they needed to. They created an inside quarter, excuse me. Nothing happened, but they did break below there this past the first trading day of the quarter. So here now you have to watch out because this leaves it very susceptible for additional selling. So you have the double inside month followed by an outside bar to the downside, and you did break below last month's range. So here, just like we said, with the equities, you really need to watch out here because the buyers really have to defend. They're playing right at the end zone here. If the sellers can step up and break back below and keep going, that's going to be range expansion to the downside, and you expect to see more selling in ARKK. So that's getting very tricky now. Now this is the thing. Buyers did step up on Friday, but we did get that lower low. All right, so the buyers stepped up here and they defended exactly where they needed to. That level right there, right? That's the prior monthly low. Sellers got involved. They're getting involved though in price action that's extended, right? This is why we don't sell on the lows, especially when you see this Momo down. It's not Momo, excuse me. It's a Bollinger Band move to the downside, extended the downside. The guys who sold down here, they're just chasing, right? We know this pattern very, very well. If you sell down here, you're chasing, right? So they immediately got squeezed. So Friday's action here, they got squeezed. Now you may see a multi-day, maybe multi-week pullback to the upside again. The question is, do sellers step back up again? Maybe they get back to the 200-day up here, and can they break it back below that month's low, prior month's low? If you do, then you got to watch out. So that's the level that we're watching here. Now we have our quarterly open in place right there. If we break above, right, but if we somehow sink back below, you got to watch for that quarterly open and watch for that level there. Okay, so one final name, because this is kind of interesting, is Tesla. So Tesla's one of Kathy Wood's bigger holdings, and Tesla is doing phenomenal. So Tesla has not endured any kind of pullback that was significant in the last quarter. In fact, it went inside bar and up in Q3. So this is a quarterly chart, inside bar and up, still at the upper end of that range, and looks like Tesla's doing very, very well right now. And if the question is, and we do know that Kathy Wood, she disclosed it, she's been selling her Tesla, and the question is she selling Tesla because she's facing redemptions, because she's holding a lot of less liquid stuff? And that's what you don't want to be doing, right? You don't want to be selling your winners to finance your losers. And is that the boat she's currently in? That's the question that everyone, is a lot of folks on the street are talking about. Is she doing that? Is she facing redemptions and is having to sell the good names like Tesla to finance the bad names? So continue watching for that, interactions around that, and contrast the likes of Tesla with the likes of ARKK. All right, so lots of stuff to look at there, and it should be a very interesting Q4 because that's when all the action happens. People basically sold in May. They went off to the Hamptons or focus on other markets. But I think equities could be a lot more interesting this final quarter. But if you're trading cryptos, you don't care because volatility is way higher in cryptos, and there's always stuff going on. So it doesn't matter what time of year it is, or what time of day it is for that matter. It's always something to do in the crypto space. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, reach out as always. And again, I'm probably not going to be doing too many of these market watch videos moving forward. I'm not saying I'm not going to do any content, but this type of video where I'm going to be covering off these equity markets with cryptos, I think it's too much of a mix. But if you guys have any feedback or any comments, love to hear it. Hope you guys stay engaged, and hope you're trading well. So hope you're having a good year so far, and let's close out the year strong. All right. Take care of yourself, stay strong, all the best.